Hi all, I am very happy to introduce Sue Demeter Sinclair, a good friend and a very esteemed researcher in the parapsychology field, who will speak with us about methodology of research and the importance of critical thinking when anomaly topics are treated. Have a good listening.
Hello, I'm Sue Demeter St. Clair, and I want to start off by giving a big thank you to the hosts of Radio Alchemy for allowing me to sound off on a topic that, I'm very passionate about. For those of you who don't know me or are not familiar with my work, I'd like to take a few minutes to introduce myself to you and to give you perhaps some insight into myself and where I'm coming from with this particular podcast. First off, I'm an anomalies researcher based out of Toronto, Canada. My focus is on scientific parapsychology, psychical research, and UFOs. Well, mostly UFOs, as I have personally experienced those. I have conducted research on behalf of the Defense Studies Department of the Canadian Forces College here in Canada on the theme of military institutional responses to anomalies, of which I was considered uniquely qualified. I have also edited several academic works on the topics of UFOs, social psi, or psychic phenomena, and poltergeists. I've been studying these topics now for the better part of 17 years, and I've also conducted in the field research on spook lights or anomalous light phenomena. I am a founding member of PsyCan, which is Paranormal Studies and Investigations Canada, which is a not-for-profit organization that is dedicated to the research, study, and exploration of a diverse range of topics that are considered to be, paranormal. I am also a member and supporter of both the Society of Psychical Research in the United Kingdom and the Institute of Noetic Sciences in the United States. So now you have my paranormal CV, so to speak. And while I never like using the word expert because we're dealing with so many unknowns, I would like to think of myself as someone who, at the very least, is quite knowledgeable in these subjects. I'm not a professional scientist, but I am a science nerd. I'm also a sci-fi geek, and I'm a gamer. I can talk for hours and hours and hours on the subjects of consciousness, reality, artificial intelligence, time travel, and the impossible. I really love this stuff. And of course, I love quantum mechanics. I say I love quantum mechanics, and I do. I'm so totally thrilled by Hugh Everett's Many Worlds interpretations, just for one example. And I feel very fortunate in that I can understand the basics of quantum mechanics or quantum physics. Mathematics was not a strong suit of mine in high school, and the mathematics used by quantum physicists to come up with their equations, that is scary math. Very scary math. And I would never pretend that I fully get that. In fact, I would be less than honest if I did. But that's okay, because I bet the majority of people who might listen to this podcast don't really get it either. Heck, even theoretical physicist superstar Richard Feynman said, "I think I can safely say that nobody understands quantum mechanics." So I don't feel too bad, and neither should you. After all, we were not all meant to be scientists or physicists. What I do know about quantum mechanics, which is a very basic understanding, I mostly learned through watching hours of documentaries featuring American theoretical physicist Michio Kaku, and reading some of his books such as Hyperspace and The Physics of the Impossible, where he really strives to bring this information to a lay audience. I'm also very fortunate to have a few super brilliant scientist friends who are very patient with me in answering my questions and explaining things to me in an understandable way. And, Doctor Who. Doctor Who and other great sci-fi gives me a good grounding, I believe, in quantum physics. Space-time, and boom. That is pretty much where I'm at on the subject of quantum mechanics. I have a good basic knowledge, but really it's more paranormal subjects that are my own area of expertise. So now that you've gotten to know me a little bit better, and for those who already know me, you can imagine how super excited I was when I saw that Radio Alchemy's podcast from last week, entitled Quantum Mechanics and the Paranormal, was, and a super bonus for me, made in English. This, I thought, okay, is right up my alley. So as soon as I had some spare time, I put on a pot of my favorite Earl Grey tea and got ready to get into some great listening. Well, that didn't happen. The tea part, that happened, and that was pretty good. But the great listening and the potential for learning something or being inspired, well, that didn't happen. Now, that didn't happen at all. I will try to give you a taste of what it was like to listen to that podcast with this review and through the notes I made while actually listening to that show. It should spare you, I hope, if you have not had the misfortune of listening to it already. So, okay, here goes. Here's my review of the podcast. The podcast starts off with some long, rambling strings of words about the quantum physical, whatever that is supposed to be. The presenter talks about consciousness as physical, quantum energy, relationships being merged. We can create voices in a room. This is being presented as evidence, but really, it just sounds like nonsense being spewed out at the listener, with no attempt at an explanation. It really comes across as the halting speak of someone who is trying to pull out 50-cent words. No, make that $5 words out of their butt in order to sound sciencey, and as if they have had some sort of level of expertise. Quantum physical level materializes ghosts and sound waves. So she said. It sounds as if this person is confusing a weird version of psi or psychic phenomena with quantum energy, whatever the hell that is. And she just keeps rambling. Apparently, imagining consciously things makes them happen in real time right now in physicality. That sounds like some kind of superpower to me. So what we have so far with the Quantum Mechanics and Paranormal podcast is the world's longest intro that is saying absolutely nothing, but repeating a drone of words and promises of how we're going to explore, how we create and make things in our mind that become physical reality. At least that is the best I could piece out of it. 7 minutes in, and I'm told we're doing something before we start. Definitions. Okay, definitions are good, and this might help. Quantum physical apparently defines, well, let me quote here. Within this now understands here that this is the quantum physical in the sense of that actual base relationship of physicality and quantum or interdimensional energy. Wait, what? I'll try that again. Within this now understands here that this is the quantum physical in the sense of that actual base relationship of physicality and quantum or interdimensional energy. Well, of course it is. Apparently, this is about an equation, without an actual equation, between the mind and body that lets us exist in the imagination. I think, and yeah, I may have been transported to an imaginary world as the drone of the podcast could have put me into a REM state. Apparently, the equation or relationship between the physical and quantum energy is so minute, but it dominates one or the other, depending on where you are in this podcast, or something, at which point we're told that when you look at the physical, there is none. What? We don't breathe or have a circulatory system? I wish I was kidding. So there's nothing to this, but we can describe it by using itself. using words the podcaster has heard in the movie The Matrix, and maybe even Star Trek. The contradiction actually is amazing. To paraphrase the presenter, there is a relation of no relationship with an unknown that defines as an even less understandable unknown, but there is no relation to any of it. So reality is a lie. And where is your God now? Good news. At 10 minutes, we might be getting started. Nope. Apparently humans will listen to the interview and find it way out there. Well, as someone with a reasonable grasp of physics, logic, and language in general, so far this podcast is so far out there, I don't think light could travel to it within my lifetime. Apparently, she is simply referencing the simple common sense of one's awareness, in fact, being the thing way out there in consciousness. Well, of course. She keeps referencing the quantum physical, which she defines so amazingly. Not. And somewhere Niels Bohr weeps. 12 minutes into the podcast, we're now going to define the quantum physical. Again. Didn't we do that at 7 minutes? This must be some sort of quantum deja vu. I'm going to give you another direct quote here. So we have to understand the physicality itself is so also existent within a quantified substance. Wait, stop right there a second. Quantified substance. Couldn't she just call that an environment? In the things that the physical body now, in our relationship now, it seems very solid and well. Basically, this entire physical existence seems very solid, and therefore one can have a look at simply the relationship to imagination within oneself. How can the interdimensional as imagination exist within something that is as solid as your physical body? I mean, imaginations are also like ghosts, are they not? In the sense that imaginations are something only you can see. It is not something that can be physically analyzed or dissected. See? Do you understand the quantum physical now? No? What's wrong with you? She then compares this with thoughts and memories which she says are paranormal and interdimensional. Let's just add psychology, neurology, hell, basic biology to her lessons. Oh, and there's nothing better than hearing how paranormal things cannot be analyzed or dissected. But she invokes poltergeist experience, something else I highly doubt she knows anything about. Poltergeists are considered noisy ghosts, and I use the term noisy ghosts in scary quotes. Typical poltergeist cases include anomalous sounds and physical manifestations, such as objects moving of their own accord. We can therefore reasonably ask, how far was the object moved? How loud was the sound? How bright or dark was the apparition? She does go into poltergeist moving things, but she still does not seem to click that the effects of things moving are measurable. At least they are to some degree. 17 minutes into 37, and we're still in the introduction. She's describing psi now, and liberally dropping in the word quantum, and not defining anything, especially the energy that is at play, or so she says. Quite frankly, this is really painful. And she just keeps repeating herself. I'm reminded of Joseph Goebbels' quote on repetition to the public. If you just keep repeating a lie, people will believe it. Although in this case, if you have an IQ over 92 and can read, it won't work here, no matter how hard she tries. She's still repeating herself at over 20 minutes. And then she adds this gem. Apparently, human consciousness is not aware of the topic she's covering. Well, that's just brilliant. So indeed, it's all a fever dream of hers, which explains a great deal. I'm going to give you another direct quote.
Science today can't explain how emotional and feeling energy is created, and only have theories, but not actual, practical, commonsensical explanation.
So according to her, biochemistry is a lie. Another quote from her.
Your entire consciousness is like this prison that is merged into the depths of the solidity and multi-dimensions of your physical body. And what it does is that energy actually resources itself from the solidity, the substance, the structure, and the manifestation of the multi-dimensions of your physical body.
Well, gee, I'm enlightened now. She keeps telling us about getting hold of some quantum energy. Okay. What was it that Inigo Montoya said to Vizzini about the use of the word inconceivable?
You keep using that word. I do not think it means what you think it means.
Got it at 25 minutes in. Our minds are quantum energy. Okay, I can finish that textbook I was working on now. Apparently it's because of how fast our minds move. Well, she hasn't met some of the people I know, or done some serious self-examination. She says that memories are stored in consciousness. So what does that mean to Alzheimer's victims, or people with certain types of brain trauma? Their quantum energy bill isn't being paid and they're being cut off? There's 10 minutes left, and we still haven't gotten started, I think.
We're going to get to explaining how that physical reaction that you're having is not really a physical reaction into the depths of the real physical body.
Yeah, I guess she never stubbed her toe.
The quantum physical is like a surface membrane that surrounds and is existent within and as a real physical body.
Yeah, lady, I'm getting that one on a t-shirt. Sigh. I remember my first joint. Seriously, this woman is really, really sounding high. I did consider giving up with only 5 minutes left, to be frank and honest with you. The logic centers of my brain were threatening to leap out through my ears and throttle me in order to give me the peace of the icy embrace of death rather than listening to any more of this woman's crap. Basically, this is someone who assumes the word quantum means something magical. Or more likely, she feels that using it gives her credibility because, well, smart people use it. So she's ascribing the concept of psi and reality in terms of it. 35 minutes in, and now we know what quantum energy is. It's your physical body. Well, I guess we can start now. She could have said this in less than a minute, way back at the beginning of this podcast, and my blood pressure would probably be much lower. And now she's threatening us that we shouldn't stop listening to her series, even if we now understand these things that she's speaking of. Fake crowd applause ends this dreadful podcast. In all honesty, this is someone who has heard or read some words and has tossed them together with as many 50-cent words, at least words she thinks are worth 50 cents, and a terrible command of the English language that is spewing nonsense in the hopes of gathering a crowd. If she does have a grasp on what she thinks she's talking about, well, her ability to convey it is deplorable and is presented as fact, when it's not even comprehensible, has nothing to do with quantum anything, and is spoken by someone who probably thinks Schrödinger was the piano-playing kid in the Peanuts comic books, and the Copenhagen interpretation is a book about how to speak Dane. One could glean a lot more and better information about quantum mechanics, well, on any level, from episodes of the UK children's show Doctor Who, than this person could ever offer. If you are presenting or selling yourself as an educator, I expect actual knowledge of the topic, and this person just does not deliver on the subject of quantum mechanics or on the subject of the paranormal. Save yourself some time and money, and don't bother with this woman or her courses, which, if the podcast is even slightly representative of, are going to be a mashup of words she has no understanding of, knit together with a good mix of incomprehensible, pointless drivel. That was 37 minutes of my life that I will never get back. However, in the grand scheme of quantum quackery, she is certainly not the worst of the lot. There are others who liberally misuse the word quantum to sell themselves as philosophers at best, and New Agey shaman or gurus at the worst. Here in North America, there are quite a few self-described quantum shaman and UFO personalities who also channel aliens, making their way around the UFO conference circuit. But I'll get back to that in a little bit. Truly the worst of the lot when it comes to misrepresenting an understanding of quantum mechanics, there is a special place in hell for the practitioners of something called quantum medicine. In doing some research for the recording, I stumbled across some truly sad and horrifying statistics. Here is just one sad example from the files of the Attorney Generals of Wisconsin and Minnesota, where a quantum medicine practitioner was successfully sued and thankfully taken out of business. It outlines the experience of two women, a mother and a daughter, who were desperately seeking a cure for cancer the mother had been diagnosed with, and turned to the help of a quantum medical healer. This particular unlicensed medical provider told patients that the government did not want to cure cancer and did not understand what she was doing. She also provided her customers with books and videos in which she claimed that there was a conspiracy to keep quantum medicine from being approved by the FDA. At their first meeting with the quantum doctor, she allegedly photographed the woman and her daughter with a Polaroid camera and put the photos in a cup attached to a radionics machine. After telling the mother that she had colon and blood cancer and the daughter that she had breast cancer, the practitioner allegedly advised both to have treatments with something called a Rife frequency generator, a special diet, dietary supplements, a regimen of baths, and something called foot zoning, which is a type of foot massage claimed to break up accumulated deposits at the end of the foot's nerve endings in order to help heal the body. It's important to add here that the mother was strongly advised against receiving chemotherapy treatments by this quantum healer. This, of course, was in direct opposition to what an actual oncologist had advised her. Both women underwent multiple treatments. The mother paid the practitioner a total of $1,778, and the daughter paid roughly around $495.30. At their final meeting, the quantum doctor told the mother she had been cured. Within a month, however, the mother began experiencing severe pain that caused her to seek out her family physician. In the end, she was told that her cancer had progressed considerably since her first diagnosis and that the prognosis was now hopeless. She died soon after that assessment, and the daughter, who was subsequently examined by her own personal physician, was told that she didn't have breast cancer. It appears to me that quantum medicine practitioners, many of whom are not licensed as health professionals at all, have concocted a non-existent energy system, much like the presenter in that dreadful podcast that I just reviewed, in order to help peddle products and procedures to their clients. Quantum medicine uses scientific terminology, but with no proper scientific trials, it is all just nonsense. And in the case of the example I've shared, it is dangerous nonsense. There are many, many more horror stories that can be found by conducting some simple research. People who are so desperate to find a cure that they will pay any amount of money to these jumped-up quantum snake oil salesmen, only to be left in some cases bankrupt and far sicker than they were in the first place. It's just sad. And like I said before, if there is a hell, this level of quantum cuckoo has earned a special place in there. Now I'd like to go back to the alien channeling quantum shamans. I'm just going to put this one down right here. Just put this down. You think about this. Peeling the quantum layers of the alien onion. And I will quote,
I believe there are 3 primary categories of aliens and their UFOs in terms of their quantum molecular structures.
Sure you do. And you are basing this on what? Information an alien gave you? Because if that is the case, the aliens are about as clueless to the proper definition of the word quantum as you are. This person, much like the presenter in the podcast, bills themselves as an educator. They defend their bullshittery by proclaiming not to be a physicist. And while that is simply stating the obvious to anyone who comes across this person's work, it is also no excuse, since they are billing themselves as someone who is an educator, and in part are selling themselves as an expert. Oh, and as the queen of UFOs, too. Okay, here in Canada, we have our own alien channelers, who are also liberally using scientific-sounding words like quantum to sell their information. Grant Cameron, according to his bio, became involved in ufology as the Vietnam War ended in May 1975. He had a series of personal sightings of a UFO-type object, which locally became known as Charlie Red Star. He has, over the years, done some really good work on researching UFOs, and I will not take that away from him. But I was rather disheartened to learn he has not only jumped onto the UFO crazy train, Mr. Cameron appears to be full steam ahead. Cameron is part of the UFO conference circuit, and now lectures on things like what he says appears to be a plan by the aliens to bring disclosure and enlightenment to the 21st century world. He also advises on things like alien messages, inspirations, downloads, including inventions, mathematical formulas, understandings of quantum physics, healing powers, and even a possible cure for cancer. Sound familiar? That the aliens have given to people like himself as opposed to, someone useful, like a scientist researching cancer. You can even buy his lecture, including possible cancer curing info online for a mere $24.99. Is Grant Cameron really channeling an alien intelligence? Does he actually believe in what he says? How about the UFO queen and her alien downloads, where apparently an alien has nothing better to do with itself in the grand cosmic sense of the universe than provide commentary on her latest UPS delivery? I'm not kidding. This is part of one of her channelings. Seriously, is that egotistical sounding or what? To be fair, I don't know if they are in contact with aliens. What I do know is that as someone who has been touched by cancer in a very personal way, as so many of you listeners probably have been, if I truly believed the aliens gave me a cure for cancer, I would not be peddling it as a sideshow attraction at a UFO carnival or online for $25 US. Sorry if my voice breaks up, but I do get emotional when I think about this. I would be banging on the doors of research labs. I would be shouting out online and begging anyone with medical expertise to listen to me. I would be doing this freely and without a thought to how much I could sell this information for. Heck, I probably wouldn't even patent it. Why? Because if I truly believed I could cure cancer, I would want to give that to everyone. That would be how I dealt with it. If I believed I really did have that information from an alien, I would give it away for free because I'm not a dick. Even if money was a concern, as history shows, Jonas Salk, who successfully ended the polio epidemic, which at the time in the 1940s equaled the fears of cancer, let's just say he never had to worry about another meal as he became a world-famous medical hero. I would not really care about becoming a hero. To me, the payoff would be in never having to see another person suffer with cancer. But hey, that's me. To close off, if I could, I would telepathically send to the aliens that these people are supposedly channeling just one request. It would be to please explain to these channelers what quantum mechanics really is. Maybe spirit guide them over to our old friend Google. Pick up a dictionary, Before I go, I want to thank the hosts of Radio Alchemy again for allowing me to rant on. I also want to give some big props to Expose. That's XPOSE, Expose UFO Truth. Check them out online. This is a great group of people. They're dedicated to sorting the wheat from the chaff with UFOs and quite literally exposing UFO hoaxers and other UFO BS while bringing some much needed science to the table. I guarantee you they are quantum quackery free. That's Expose UFO Truth. Check them out. And thanks for listening.